And welcome in to Caught Stealing, the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast here at Fantasy Alarm. Yes, same people, me, Colby Conway, at Colby or Conway on X, Matt Selz, at the Salesman on X, formerly known as Twitter, but new name, Who Dis? Who Dis is us. We're still the same. New name, new look for the new season. 2024 deserves a proper name. We are still the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball podcast, but it is the name Caught Stealing. And Matt, I will tell you, as a former catcher, I am very glad that this is the name that we decided on because it's something very near and dear to this old heart of mine right here.
How good were you at throwing out would-be base stealers?
I like to think fairly well. That was probably my calling card as a player was arm strength.
Nice.
Now, to be fair, I didn't always know where it was going. I get it there quick. I just didn't know quite where it was going to go around that area.
So you're more like Nuke LaLoosh from the mound, then, is it?
Yeah,
5
it's
strikeouts, 5 walks, 5 hit batters, 5 times hitting the mascot.
listen. If I get it there quick, the quicker I can get it there, the little more leeway I have in terms
There
of
you
not
go.
being right on the money.
Good pop times give you more leeway.
yeah, exactly. Except in the big leagues, they have good pop times and they put it right on the money every
Correct.
single time. But hey,
Just like
that's why they're there, and I'm right here.
Correct.
There's about many other reasons, but that's one of them. But
I'm here
anyway.
because I'm short and don't throw fast. So that
Hey, your words, not mine. I didn't say it.
I am a lefty, so theoretically,
So your catching dreams were done in Little League. Then you were done.
Oh, I wasn't going to catch. I was either going to play first base or right field or pitch, and I did none of those well enough to go past high school. So
I started. I think when I was 9, first year of Little League, I played second base. I think for 3 games. Our catcher got hurt, so they were just like, "Do you want to catch?" And I was like, And then my dad was like, "He'll catch," and put on the gear, and I never got out from behind the plate. I was there forever. Hardly did anything else. I just lived behind the plate. So I'm glad that we settled in here on Caught Stealing. I love the name. I love the brand new look here. Shout out to the team here at Fantasy Alarm for doing that. And for 2024, this is going to be your one-stop shop for fantasy baseball talk. Here in the offseason, the plan right now is to go once a week. Hopefully in season, we'll go back to the twice a week, just like we had back for the 2023 season. So later on in the week, we can hit the waivers, free agent pickups, news and notes, injuries, and then early part in the week, we have a little fun with that, looking for the week ahead. But here in the offseason, we're going to go once a week. Got a lot of cool ideas and concepts that we're going to talk about here. But Matt, we would be remiss if we didn't start with this. I know fantasy baseball or fantasy football has ended. Week 18 has passed. The regular season is over. The AFC South has returned to where it belongs in Houston. But with the fantasy football season coming to an end, it's time to start doing the fantasy baseball research. Drafts are right around the corner. The season is actually only a little over 2 months, 2 months and a couple of weeks away because we have the international series that begins the year.
Right.
And my birthday is coming up in a little over a month, which also means pitchers and catchers. They start reporting here in a little over a month. So, hey, you might think you have some time now to recoup from fantasy football, and you do. But fantasy baseball season is right around the corner. And over at Fantasy Alarm, while you have been setting week 15, week 16, week 17 lineups, Matt and I have been hammering out updates to the free agent tracker. It is free. Go check it out, fantasyalarm.com. Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez, Sean Manaea, a bunch of players that you may never even heard of have been written up in that sheet. I've had some write-ups, Matt, that I've done in there, and I said, this guy's not fantasy relevant, but I'm going to write him up anyway with a couple sentences.
Did you get all of the closers for the Padres?
Yeah, all of them, and updated every single one from going like, oh, he's going to compete with player A for the job. Oh, he's going to compete with player A, B, and C for the job. Oh, he's going to be with A, B, C, and D for the job. It's a closer by committee in San Diego. That's what I'm.
Yeah, I was doing the rookies, the top 10 rookies piece that'll come out with the forthcoming draft guide. It'll be out here sometime shortly. Little birdie told us it'll be out here shortly. While you were doing the sleepers and the busts, I was updating prospects and dynasty rankings and rookies, and I had one of the Padres closers on there, and then they signed another one. So then I was like, yeah, maybe he can beat him out. And then they signed another one, and I was like, no, I got to take that guy off and go find another guy to write up because there's no value. There's no value there. So we will talk about the Padres. We'll talk about a bunch of teams. But what are we leading off with here today there, Colby?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously you already said a little birdie said that the fantasy baseball draft guide might be coming out perhaps as soon as early as next week. So keep an eye out for any updates there. FantasyAlarm.com, Fantasy Alarm over on X, formerly known as Twitter. Obviously, right now we got the free agent tracker going on, continuously updated based on all the moves that are happening. Still waiting on some big dominoes to fall, may I add. So we'll have to see where kind of that ends up shaking out. But let's do this, Matt. We've been working on the free agent tracker for probably the last
Since about Thanksgiving.
So, okay, about a month and a half, 2 months. So let's do this. There's no point in going through and talking about every single signing. Go read the free agent tracker at fantasyalarm.com so you can get all of that. I have some very lengthy write-ups in there, so go check it out and see everything there. But let's start with this, Matt. So far through this offseason, what has been your favorite move? And it can be a fantasy standpoint, it can be reality. It's completely up to you. But what is your favorite move thus far of the offseason?
That's an I mean, obviously the easy answer is Shohei Ohtani and his deferring basically his entire contract for a decade. That's the low hanging fruit.
Yep.
So I would say that right now I think it's the Yankees getting Juan Soto
Mm-hmm.
because the trade didn't ultimately cost them that much to pull off. Like if San Diego gets a bunch out of the pitchers that they got, great. But there's a real strong chance they may all turn into relievers too. So, and the star of that return is Michael King, who's 29 years old and has barely pitched in the majors. So, look, 2 years ago when they got Soto and they gave up basically an entire farm system for Soto, and then a year and a half later, it's gone so badly that they had to trade a 25-year-old superstar to a team who probably has the money to sign him long term, but we'll see. There's some conflicting reports as to whether he'll stay there long term. But that's probably my favorite trade right now. I think it was helps the Yankees, gets them the outfield help they need, gets a very good lefty bat in the middle of that order. I did the trade write up for it. There are some interesting things to keep in mind that in terms of hits, Yankee Stadium has actually been the worst ballpark for lefty hitters in terms of hits over the last 3 years. We all think about power, but in terms of actual hits that drive up his average, it's been terrible. So I think that's my favorite move right now. What's yours there, Colby?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw an honorable mention to Atlanta for that Chris Sale deal. To get Chris Sale for a guy that they clearly were never gonna play in Vaughn Grissom, I think they did fine.
And
But
basically for free based on that contract extension.
right. But for me, I think my favorite move, I'm actually gonna go to a free agent signing. And Matt, before I'm gonna slightly tease this though, but am I crazy for saying it's a pitcher who's going to Cincinnati? Going to Great American Ballpark is one of my favorite moves of the offseason.
It's not terrible because if it's the pitcher you're talking about, it's not a bad environment for him.
I really like the Frankie Montas signing in Cincinnati. I know Yankees fans are going to be rather jaded by Montas, considering since the trade he pitched maybe
Maybe 20 innings.
this many innings, roughly. It seems like he was never out there dealing
Yeah.
with the shoulder injury. So it's a pretty big gamble from the Reds. I mean, we're talking a per year value in the teens, millions of dollars, obviously, for him to come in there. But here's the thing. I know he's going to Great American Ballpark. I know he's had the shoulder injuries. But the thing is, you can't hit home runs when the ball is hit down.
Yeah, he gets a
Home runs
lot of
aren't
ground
hit
ball.
that way. This isn't backyard baseball where you hit it and it goes underground and then it comes up and it like shoots out and it can go anywhere. You know, this isn't backyard baseball. This is real life baseball. When you look at Montas, when healthy, he can miss bats. He is a absolute ground ball machine. And if he can do that in Cincinnati, I think he can mitigate the worst parts of what we all assume comes with Great American Ballpark, which is, oh, there goes the ERA. Oh, there's the home runs. Oh, he's going to get shelled every single time he comes out. If healthy, he's a strikeout and ground ball machine, which is very good for that park. And two pitches that he has there, a sinker, aka a sinking fastball, and a split finger fastball, are going to generate a ton of ground balls. And honestly, Matt, he's free in drafts. It
Yeah,
doesn't cost you anything. And I mean, do I understand why? Absolutely. He's
yes.
thrown this many innings in the past couple of years, so I totally get why he's free, but it's a low risk, medium high-ish reward. I mean, remember 2019 and 2021, Frankie Montas,
I mean,
pretty good.
to be sure, the Reds have enough infielders to field all of those ground balls because they may not play any outfielders. Their entire roster is infielders.
Yeah.
I will say an honorable mention is the Diamondback signing Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yes.
That was a really nice move to bolster that rotation. So they went to the World Series, didn't play as well as they wanted, added to the team because now they have Eugenio Suarez too. So I really that's a nice move for me too. But the Soto getting a superstar that you can lock up long term for practically nothing is real hard to pass up.
Let me add in over at the fantasyalarm.com. If you look at the free agent tracker, I wrote up the Eduardo Rodriguez deal and I ended it with, however, he should eat up innings in Arizona's rotation this season and with a steady dosage of ground balls, provide another quality season from a fantasy standpoint, thanks to a more potent offense backing him, leading him to more wins. If he pitches like he did last year and stays healthy in 2024, there's a world where Rodriguez wins 15 games with a sub 3.75 ERA. Think shades of 2019. Eduardo Rodriguez, ... That year, 3.81 ERA, 19 wins, and over a 9K per nine with a home run per nine just above 1. So if all goes well,
Not
I
to mention
really, really like it.
He gets to troll the Dodgers now too.
He sure does after not
They
wanting
had
to
to
go
turn him
there.
down the midseason trade because he didn't
Right.
want to move out west, and now he signed a 4-year deal.
Absolutely. So, Matt, let's go ahead and talk about this then. Least favorite or most confusing move of the offseason here. There's been quite a few, to be honest, but I'll let you take this away.
Whatever the heck the trade was that the Mariners and Giants just made.
Oh,
I
the Robbie
The
Ray, Mitch
Robbie Ray,
Haniger,
Mitch
Tony Disco.
Haniger, Desclafani trade, I don't get. I really don't get. I know that for the Mariners, Robbie Ray, when healthy, was basically an extra piece now. Fair. Okay. But do you need another home run masher in that lineup? That wasn't like Haniger still strikes out a pretty decent amount, and he's been injured a bunch. So what you're getting back, not to mention he has an opt out after this year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie Ray has an opt out after this year, and he's not coming back to pitch until July. And then, by the way, if you had excess pitchers, why are you taking Desclafani? Like, I don't get it. And for the Giants, where's your offense coming from? Like, you just traded Haniger, who was the middle of your offense, and Desclafani, who was a healthy pseudo starting pitcher for you, for a guy who can't pitch till July when you already have one of your starters out until maybe May with an offseason hip surgery. So you shorted yourself a starter. You got a guy who can opt out at the end of the season. You have to pay him more than you were paying Haniger and Desclafani combined, and you gave the Mariners cash. And for the Mariners, you get Pop, but like, where's Haniger playing in the outfield? You already had outfielders. Okay. Don't understand that one. Guy was always injured, which is why you let him go. And now where's that? What are you doing with Desclafani? A long man? It's just very confusing all the way around.
Fair. I actually really like. All right, so I'm gonna take the cheap way out on this one. I love it for Robbie Ray in fantasy if he returns healthy.
I mean, if he
I
gets
love
healthy,
it.
then yes, obviously.
But I
he's going to
understand
best
the
pitcher
optics of the
for-
trade are I'll say interesting. Definitely,
Just with the
definitely
like,
odd.
if Robbie Ray was locked up for the next 3 years without opt outs, and he's healthy, then you're getting yourself an innings eating number 2 for, that's fine. But he has an opt out and he's not healthy, so I just don't get it.
I'm gonna go to the Cardinals.
Yeah,
Because I mean, I could just say they're kind of the whole team, but I am genuinely I don't even know. I mean,
which is the worst? Which is the worst signing? The entire rotation?
I don't get it. I don't get it. It seems like they're trying to put forth this starting rotation of, other than Lance Lynn, and there's big concerns there.
Yes.
I don't know if they have a starter that's going to strike out more than a batter per inning. Sonny Gray is going to flirt with it. Miles Mikolas is not going to come even near it with a 15-foot pole.
No, he might
Kyle
walk more
Gibson
guys
refuses to strike people out or miss bats. Steven Matz, he might be close, but I can't trust that he stays healthy.
The only way Steven Matz does it is if he goes to the bullpen.
Yeah, but it seems like they were like, we're going to go out there and we're going to get guys who don't miss bats and figure it out. And if I'm not mistaken, their rotation was one of the worst at it last year. You think
Yeah.
they'd want to add a little swing and miss to that starting rotation. And I guess, sure, if you want to say Lance Lynn, I'll give you that one. You can enjoy his 5 ERA too while you're at it. But other than that, there's no swing and miss in that starting rotation.
I'd still rather have a retired Adam Wainwright than anybody in that rotation.
Oh, I don't know.
At home, Wainwright was good. On the road, not so much.
I'll hear you on that one. But again, head over to fantasyalarm.com. Check out the MLB free agent tracker. There's also been some breaking news pieces written up about notable trades that have happened, aka like the Tyler Glasnow deal, the Alex Verdugo deal from a while back, Jared Clinic, and so forth. So make sure you're checking that out there.
I do want to get your opinion real quick on the deferred money and the Teoscar Hernandez deal.
I mean,
listen. It's a 1 year. For those of you who may not have heard, Teoscar Hernandez signed a 1 year, $23.5 million contract with the Dodgers because they're signing everybody. They've spent literally over $1 billion this offseason. It's a 1 year, $23.5 million deal. Okay. Mm-hmm. Except it's not. It's actually a 1 year, $15 million deal. And then in 2030 through 2039, they're going to pay Teoscar Hernandez $850,000 a year for 10 years to pay off the other $8.5 million of the deal. Why are we like? I know you don't want to limit deferred money, but deferred money on 1 or 2 year deals shouldn't be a thing.
I get that. I would say if you think your career's on the downhill and you're looking to solidify your money post playing days, like into your retirement, I would go sign a couple years. No, absolutely not. I get it.
Dodgers for doing it on a 1 year deal. You don't have another $8.5 million in cash laying around this year,
unless they're trying to make another move. But I will say I love this for Teoscar for fantasy in 2024. Agreed. But I also tell you, I'm scared to death. I'm not getting any more shares of him.
No, because I think the Dodger lineup hype is through the roof.
Once it's first name, last name, comma, space, L-A or L-A-D, you're not getting those players anymore. It is.
Unless it's like Walker Buehler, who may not be fully healthy.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Walker Buehler. So again, we talked about a little birdie has been chirping around here that the fantasy baseball draft guide could be coming out as soon as next week with a couple of the intro pieces. And let me start with this. I wrote up my top 10 busts, and one of those 10 is Walker Buehler. I put him in there. I know you just mentioned him. There will be a full write-up in the draft guide when that does come out, so you'll want to check that out, but I'll just give you a little bit here. He is now coming off, not his first, but his second Tommy John surgery. He threw just 65 innings back in 2022, didn't pitch at all last year in 2023, and go close your eyes, pick a random podcast episode that Matt and I did last year in 2023, and you will hear us talk about the Dodgers and pitcher workloads. They are going to preserve him. You look at their starting rotation, it's littered with question marks already. If they overuse him, he's in trouble.
Kershaw.
Yeah. If they overuse him, he's in trouble. I think they're going to slow play him. And when you look at it, I just don't think coming off his second Tommy John surgery that his numbers this year are going to warrant where he's going in drafts. So for me, Walker Buehler is one of the fantasy baseball busts this season. I think you can do better than a guy coming off his second Tommy John surgery at that price point. That's just where I fell with him. Don't hate the player, hate the price point.
Agreed. I mean, I could see the logic in thinking, hey, you're getting a number one caliber pitcher who's probably going to line up as the fourth pitcher in that rotation.
Mm-hmm.
I would presume. But again, he's a number one when healthy, and we're yet to determine if he's actually healthy. And it's not like his stuff was missing bats when he was healthy last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the big knock on him, is all of his strikeout stuff went away. Mm-hmm. It just up and vanished. Maybe if he loosens his pants, he'll get his strikeout game back. I don't know, but
I love off-season episodes.
That man wears the tightest pants in baseball. It's unbelievable. It's like uncomfortably tight, to be honest.
Well, hey, he won't be at a shortage for wins. I'm a little
I
not
mean,
sure in the other stuff.
well, maybe he's got to make it through 5 innings to get.
Well, true.
Are we
That
trusting
is
Dave Roberts to do that? I don't know.
That is very true. There will also be 9 other busts in that article. It'll be the top 10 fantasy baseball busts for the year for me. I also have the fantasy baseball sleepers written up. I'll give you one here. There will be 9 more. I went a little homer here, Matt. I had to do it. It's Henry Davis for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Here's why. Depending where you play, you'll want to see his positional eligibility. But because of the injury to Endy Rodriguez, Pittsburgh didn't do a ton behind the dish in the offseason here. Henry Davis could open the year, I will say, as the primary catcher, maybe catching 2 to 3 games, maybe 4 a week. Once he gets that catcher eligibility, it is going to be Dalton Varsho-esque from past years. You know what I mean? Where he's
Yeah,
pushed up just because he has the comma C at the end of his name and he's got
sure.
that positional eligibility. The sooner he can get it, the better. But overall, he actually has decent speed for a catcher, as I'm going to throw him at here. Batting average, there's going to be some question marks there, but he makes a lot of hard contact. It wouldn't surprise me to see him over a full season this year actually get to 15 homers and maybe even 10 stolen bases. I fully believe in potentially more power, but I'll play it conservative with 15. But 15-10 from a catcher that you can get pretty late in drafts right now, I don't expect him to be going this cheap for long. Because if there's any report that are there any confirmation that he's really going to be catching early, you're going to have to start drafting him as that non-catching catcher,
Correct.
basically, and he's going to get shot up. So right now, he's a tremendous value, and you should not be sleeping on him in drafts.
I'll agree with you on that one. I mean, there's a reason he went as high in the draft as he did when he was drafted by the Pirates.
Yep.
This was their plan. Put him behind the plate, let his offense play. Also, they're starting to, have their young pitchers start to come up.
Yep.
So you want your young catcher and your young pitchers to get on the same page so they can be, a battery on the same page for quite a while. So I like that call. We were talking about the San Francisco Giants a little bit earlier. I'm going to give you one of my top 10 rookies that
Okay.
I think a lot of people fell off of last year, and it's Kyle Harrison. Right? I myself kind of fell off of him a little bit last year.
We did trash talk him a little bit.
I did. He was a top,
We
he
did.
was one of my top lefty pitchers coming into the
Yep.
season, and then the guy decided he couldn't throw strikes anymore, and couldn't stay in the strike zone, and that's why his innings or his starts lasted less than 3 innings most of the time. But he did come up, get a taste of the majors last year a little bit. There are openings in that Giants rotation. Alex Cobb is out with a hip thing, so it's Logan Webb and nobody else, right? Because Robbie Ray ain't coming till like July, and Cobb may be back by like May. I don't know. Even so, that's only 3 total dudes, and Kyle Harrison, they would like to get some more out of him. So there's opportunity there. There's concerns. He needs to get his control under control. Excuse the pun, but yeah, the numbers weren't so bad when he came up, and he pitched way better at home than he did on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Way better at home. Like, not even like if you look at his total ERA in the time he was in the majors last year, look at the home road splits. Completely different pitcher at home. So, I have him in my top 10 rookies. There are some others. You have to read the piece when it comes out. And I gave you a couple of bonuses too. There's some honorable mentions in there.
Do you, if only, let's speculate on this, Matt, if only Kyle Harrison had another left-hander to learn from in that rotation who also dealt with command and control issues.
Yeah, I wonder if he can get good at doing that.
Wonder if there's anybody in that rotation. We'll have to think about that. Robbie Ray. There
Yep.
could be some learning to be had there. So, Matt, there's also going to be you'll have I believe it's a new top 400 rankings, or updated, I should say, or new.
Yeah,
I guess whatever.
it's updated. We've got some guys on current their proper teams. We have some of the new draftees making the cut. We have the guys who graduated, kicked out of their rankings. Shouldn't necessarily be a shock as to who the number 1 prospect in my rankings is. That would be one Mr. Jackson Holiday.
Well, let me tell you this. I'm glad that you mentioned him. Let's go. We're going to start adding in some discourse from the Discord. If you're not in the Fantasy Alarm Discord, what are you waiting for? Get on in there. Head over to fantasyalarm.com. There will be information on how you can join and everything like that. So make sure you get in there. Get your questions answered by me, Matt Selz, Bender, Impemba. The whole Fantasy Alarm family is in there to answer any questions that you might have. But some discourse from the Discord over the last little bit. Matt, we're going to stick with some of the, you kind of talked about the prospects and such. There have been a couple of questions about that. So let's start with this question from the Discord. I'm going to paraphrase this a bit, but let's say any under the radar prospects that this person could snatch up during the draft. They said the top 10 are pretty much rostered. Doubt any of them would be dropped from the keepers above. We'll come back to that. But this person says, I'm not afraid to draft prospects. Good for them. And typically have all 6 prospect slots filled on my roster. Currently, the minor leaguers on their roster are Manzardo and Acuna. Luis Angel Acuna, obviously. Ronald's not a prospect anymore. We all know him. They said, thinking of keeping Manzardo. Thanks. So I know your rankings are coming out. It'll probably just be easier to kind of take a look at there and go off of the rankings that you have, as well as, all right, here's number 11, kept 12, available 13, and going through that way. I think that's probably going to be the best bet. But any kind of maybe unheralded prospects, or maybe not even unheralded, but maybe outside the top 10 or 15 or so that you could see be worth keeping, or that you would make a concerted effort if you were drafting in a league to make sure you attain these prospects. Maybe your can't miss prospects, must have type.
Yeah. So Manzardo is nice. I think the move to Cleveland last year, I think, is really going to help him. They've been very good at developing young talent. There's also a hole at first base for Manzardo to fill, which he should do pretty early this season. For Cleveland, and hint, he may be in my top 10 rookies piece. Other than that, Luis Angel Acuna, I like him. I've written him up previously. Landing spot with the Mets gives him some more. It doesn't really change his trajectory from being with the Rangers to the Mets, so he's fine. I'm going to preface this by saying, if you are looking for win now prospects, here are a few outside of the top 15 or so that I think get a shot very quickly. One would be Curtis Mead for Tampa Bay. They have needs in the infield. They have a glaring hole in one of their spots because one of their guys is never coming back. So Curtis Mead, third base eligibility. He'll play a little bit everywhere if you need a bat. If you need an arm right now, I would look at Mizorowski for Milwaukee. He's really, really talented. He went through multiple levels last year. They have openings all over their pitching staff. I think he comes up relatively quickly. If you're looking for more, hold and wait and see guys, Jackson Merrill for San Diego at shortstop, looking like an absolute steal in the draft where they got him. Obviously, they have a 17-year-old catcher who's really good in Ethan Salas. But again, that's a long burn type guy. And Colson Montgomery for the White Sox doesn't get a lot of attention because he plays for the White Sox, but that team has holes everywhere. And as soon as he's ready, he'll probably be up in the middle infield for them.
I like those. I like those quite a bit. So speaking of another question that came in there, so I believe it's the same person. About to begin a 35-round, 19-keeper, 8-team slow draft. Pick number 4, 10 points for a win, 5 for a home run, head-to-head category leagues, 5 taxi spots for stashes. Ultimately, I think the question here, because they also said, like a Yamamoto, Skeens, Jackson Holiday are one of the obvious choices at the top. So my assumption here, we're talking a startup. We're beginning a full team here. At what point, Matt, would you start basically taking a look at the Paul Skeens, Jackson Holiday, maybe Dylan Cruz before the likes of like some of the current MLB stars? Like, for example, if I'm looking at ADP since Christmas Day over at NFBC, Ronald Acuna, Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez, and Corbin Carroll are the first 4 picks. I'm probably taking any of those 4 before a prospect. Like in like a Jackson Holiday type, I'm taking those 4 first. I think the conversation starts after those 4.
Correct. I think if you have the pick number 4. I think there are 4 very safe, young, stud, multi-category, 5 category guys that you can pick and would be happy with any of those. So if this is indeed a startup, because I don't see any, keepers listed
Mhm.
here. Obviously, it's 19, so I'm sure you didn't want to write out a whole paragraph. And it's an 8-team league, which is fine. A lot of superstar power on that, so that gets tricky in a different way. Yeah, I would go with approaching this if it's truly a startup league. I would go approaching it the same way you would for like a redraft. You get a base of talent in multiple categories. Uh, Secure that before you go for like Yamamoto is different because he played professionally, right? He's not like Jackson Holiday, who is talented and all, but has been beating up on high school and college kids and hasn't faced pro pitching, right? Yamamoto, same thing like Kodai Senga last year, right?
Mhm.
Was a different type of prospect. Same with Shohei Ohtani previously. So I would say, yeah, I would look at Acuna or Corbin Carroll or Bobby Witt or Soto or Tatis. Um, all guys in their mid-20s who are 5 category contributors who you can keep for a very long time.
Okay, and then let's say, assuming this is maybe they already have some teams and stuff, and they said right there,
Right.
Yamamoto, Skeens, Holiday. I'm going to throw Dylan Cruz in as well. They
Yeah.
have pick number 4, guarantees they get one of those 4 again, assuming Cruz is there. For me, I think my order would be, ugh, I would go Holiday.
You had a plan and then you said it out loud.
I know I did.
You're
I had it
scared.
sounded really good before I got in front of the microphone. When I'm sitting here with no one listening, it sounded really good. And then I start talking. I'm like, oh man, is this going to be right? I think I would go Holiday, Yamamoto, Skeens, Cruz. Those would be my 4 of those 4 in that order. Would you agree or would you go different? And you can definitely go different
I would
because
put
I almost
Holiday
just
1.
switched.
Part of me wants to put Yamamoto 1, but for this year, I don't know that I do it because he signed a 12-year deal.
Mhm.
So there's no reason for them to push him as hard as he can go in the first year, not to mention there's always that transition period, getting used to the 5-day, the 5-game schedule and the heavier, bigger MLB ball compared to the MPB ball. Um, so you may not see ace-like stuff from Yamamoto until the second half, like we did for Kodai Senga last year, right? I might go Holiday 1. Yeah, Yamamoto 2,
Skeens, then Cruz.
Cruz, then Skeens.
Okay. So
I
ultimately, you're
think
guaranteed one of
the
those 4.
reason why I'm going Cruz and Skeens is because I think the Nats are more aggressive at promoting people,
I'd agree.
and I can also bank better on young hitters than young pitchers. Not to
Sure.
mention the track record of the Pirates and young pitchers scares me a little bit because Mitch Keller was supposed to be a thing, hasn't really figured it out. Quinn Priester was supposed to be a thing, hasn't really figured it out.
Fair.
Paul Skeens was great for 6 innings in the minor leagues last year, but it's 6 innings and his girlfriend got more attention or his hair got more attention than his stuff. So
Fair.
I would flip the last 2.
Fair. And then the last question we got here. So 12-team head-to-head category league. This guy's got a hell of a team. I'll be honest. I think he asked the question after last season, came back a couple months later, and I think I gave 7 different keepers just on based on like looking at things through the
Yeah, this
offseason.
is quite remarkable, to
It's
be
a great
honest.
team. This
Yeah,
is a great problem to have. It makes for a really tough and crappy decision, but it's a
agreed.
great team. So they get to keep 9 players from year to year with 1 minor league player.
Okay.
The main 10 that I like the most, which we have to cut it back a little bit, Matt McClain, Kyle Tucker, Logan Webb, Grayson Rodriguez, George Kirby, O'Neill Cruz, CJ Abrams, Luis Robert, Gunnar Henderson, and Trey Turner. I believe that's 10, if my math is correct. The trading period opens up late February, early March. After that, we name our keepers and then we draft. One stipulation is if we trade, the players that I acquire must be kept. That makes sense. If you trade for a person, got to keep them.
Yep, that's the same in my home league too.
Yep. You can also trade draft picks if we so desire. There are other players that they could consider keeping would be Christian Encarnacion Strand, Nolan Jones, Jordan Walker, PCA with the Cubs, Garrett Mitchell, Andrew Abbott, Jesus Luzardo, Mason Miller, Bobby Miller, Bryce Miller, Zach Eflin, Taj Bradley, Chris Bassett, Kodai Senga, and Ohtani, the pitcher. So for me, I limited it down to those top 10. I had been talking with him back and forth in the Discord. I would look to trade Trey Turner for another pitcher. I could be talked into moving Kodai Senga up into one of the keeper spots, but they're hurting for pitchers because right now it's just Grayson Rodriguez, George Kirby, and Logan Webb. Also, they already have CJ Abrams, Matt McLain, O'Neal Cruz, and Trey Turner, all of whom have shortstop eligibility.
Correct.
They did say with their other positions and the lineup settings, they can start all four. So that alleviates some concern. I would still look to trade Trey Turner for a pitcher, the best pitcher that you can get, and I would keep them because I think they need pitching help because Logan Webb, Grayson Rodriguez, and George Kirby is a fine 1, 2, 3. But if you can add another dynamic fourth arm on top of Matt McLain, Luis Robert, Kyle Tucker, Gunnar Henderson, you have a powerhouse. So would you agree that trading Trey Turner is the move? CJ Abrams is going to pop up in the draft guide, so I'd be okay at looking to deal him as well. But I know you got some Nationals fandom there. So what do you think of the 9 players that they can keep there?
First of all, that's a heck of a list. Congratulations. Hope we helped you pick those guys up. I would agree. Obviously, Ohtani, the pitcher, doesn't do you any good this year. You got to toss him back because he's not going to pitch.
Yep.
Senga intrigues me, except for the Mets got worse, and I don't want him as the ace of an MLB staff. I'm with you. I would probably trade Trey Turner because he's going to be the biggest name on that list to get you the biggest pitching return. Yeah. I'm probably the only other intriguing guy for me, I guess, is Bobby Miller.
Yeah.
Like if
So,
you
yeah, let's do it this way. Let's look at let's pick our 9. So let's
like
say
if
that
you
they can't make
traded CJ Abrams for some non shortstop guy, or get another arm, and then you also keep Bobby Miller.
I think the move might be to either throw Abrams or Trey Turner back and trade the other one.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I'm 100% keeping Matt McLain.
Yes.
I'm all in on him. I'm definitely keeping Kyle Tucker.
Correct.
I'm definitely keeping Grayson Rodriguez.
And Webb and Kirby.
And Webb. I'm bolding these as we go. And Webb and Kirby. I'm definitely keeping Luis Robert and Gunnar Henderson.
Yes.
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need 2 more. I really like O'Neal Cruz. I can understand if you'd want to move like Bobby Miller up, but honestly, I think I would look to put Trey Turner and CJ Abrams out there, try to get a pitcher, and maybe throw the other one back into the keeper pool. And then of those pitchers, like you said, it can't be Ohtani because it doesn't help you this year. I don't want Chris Bassett. Kodai Senga is interesting, but Mets might stink. Jesus Luzardo is a young arm, but I think Bobby Miller's got the higher ceiling.
Yeah, and he's got the better team.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. Because good old Bobby Miller gets the just knocked my headphones out, but the comma LAD after his name, and we all know what that means for.
And they have openings in their starting rotation.
So McLain, Kyle Tucker, Logan Webb, Grayson Rodriguez, George Kirby. See, I combined them there. Okay. Luis Robert, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Miller, and then look to that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's 8. I would look to throw back. So it comes down to O'Neal Cruz, CJ Abrams, and Trey Turner. Would you think Abrams would get you the highest return with him being younger than Trey Turner, or Trey Turner gets the higher return just because he's overall better?
I think Trey Turner gets you because here's the thing. I've seen a ton of discussion about CJ Abrams and how he was phenomenal in the counting stats, but the batting average is not good. And it was great for like a 6-week period, and the rest of the season it was like 212 or below. Yeah. Right. And I think people are still weary of the Nats' overall offense. Fair, right? Because Lane Thomas is about the best piece they've got. So I would try to see if you could get another ace from Trey Turner and just have 4, because you could bind counting stats and bats everywhere.
Yeah.
Can't
Okay.
find solid pitching everywhere.
So then McLean, Tucker, Webb, Rodriguez, Kirby gives you 5. Robert is 6. Henderson is 7. Bobby Miller is 8. And then I would float out O'Neal Cruz, CJ Abrams, and Trey Turner and try to get the best starter that you can.
Correct.
And then that would be your 9. So Matt McLean, Kyle Tucker, Webb, Rodriguez, Kirby, Robert, Henderson, Bobby Miller, starting pitcher that you acquire in the deal from one of those 3 guys. And then honestly, when it comes to your pick, I mean, if you can get back whoever you don't keep, or even maybe a Kodai Senga or a Jesus Luzardo, I think you're in a really, really good spot. So,
well, theoretically, if you could keep either, like if you trade Trey for an arm, oh, that would be 9.
you have to keep the player you trade for. So that's basically we have to select 8 keepers because the guy they keep would be 9.
Because I think you could. Because here's the other thing: I think you could get O'Neal Cruz and CJ Abrams back.
Yep, I think so too.
You could, because O'Neal Cruz has been injured more often than he's played.
Yeah, you'll get a discount for Cruz. So yep, I think that's the way to go.
There's still, like I just said, the questions about his, can he actually hit at a good enough level to help you consistently?
Absolutely. So that would be it. So I'll also post it in the Discord. That way you don't have to keep rewinding this 14 times to figure out the 9 that we settled in on there. But that'll be it for that. So Matt, that is it. That's the first episode of Caught Stealing here for the 2024 season, taking a look at the off season here. If you have any questions as the week goes on till the next podcast, drop them in the Discord. Matt and I'll be happy to answer them there and potentially even here on air. And of course, if you're not already, become a member over at fantasyalarm.com. Even if you're not, you can see the free agent tracker. But for all the other good stuff we got going on, including access to the Discord, join the family today. The hashtag family. Join us here. Give Matt a follow on X at the Selzman. I'm at Colby R. Conway, and we will see you next week with the newest edition of Caught Stealing, the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball Podcast.